I respect this next person so much. This is one of my favorite entertainers on the entire planet. I have spent more hours watching this entertainer's entertainment. And no, it's not Lana Del Rey. We're still working on that. Don't worry. It is my pleasure to welcome to the best show, Nardwuar is here.
Hello, Tom Scharpling.
Oh my goodness.
How the hell are you?
I can't handle it.
How the hell are you? Thank you.
Oh my.
Thank you for the email today. That email. You emailed me today. And in classic Grant Lawrence of the Smugglers.
Yes.
Classic Grant Lawrence of Smugglers.
Yes.
From Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
Yeah.
You know Grant from the Smugglers?
I know the Smugglers. I don't know Grant necessarily.
You know, the Smugglers, the new pornographers. You know,
yes, of course.
You know that.
Yes.
He would say to me, Nardwuar, you're on the best show? You're on the best show today?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm on the best show with Tom. And Grant would say, who canceled?
Oh,
Boom!
Grant, I want to look right in the camera. Grant from the Smugglers. Boom.
And also, I brought with me Jones from Los Angeles, California, who today had been taking me around to various locations in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And telling me about records with his friend Senior Amour, etc.
Sure.
And Jones also played in a band at 15 at the Vex in East LA with Jones. The Circle Jerks.
And we had Keith Morris was here a couple months ago. It was very exciting. He was getting ready for his tour, and he was so thrilling to have him here. But now I got to say, I can't remember this Keith Morris thing. It's been wiped out by Nardwuar The Human Serviette.
That's possibly why, you know, we mentioned Jones, and I mentioned Jones, and I am Nardwuar The Human Serviette, live with Tom Scharpling on The Best Show! That's 1-800-563 and Jones, who has been taking me around. In fact, today, we are in Boyle Heights, really close to where the Vex was. What record store were we at?
We visited Salida Del Valle.
Okay.
Record store.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Right down the street from where the old Vex used to be. It's now the Paramount.
Okay.
And the Vex is where the Circle Jerks played. And believe it or not, Jones saw the second Circle Jerks gig ever.
Yeah.
So Jones and Senior Moore were showing me around LA to all different record stores, including one record store called Gimme,
run by Dan Cook.
Who saw you dressed up as?
Help me.
Lana.
Oh, he saw me dressed as Lana Del Rey for Halloween.
On Halloween,
yes,
you went all the way, and he's from New York originally.
Now, do you know what band Dan was in?
He was in a legendary Matador band.
The Linfield Pioneers.
Matador label mates with the new pornographers.
Yes.
Shout out. What camera are we looking at right now?
This is you.
This is me. Shout out to Carl Newman from the new pornographers. And actually, I was wondering, Austin from Canada, did he write the Best Show theme? He also worked on the We the North campaign. Does that bring back any memories, Austin?
Yeah, you're talking about Paycheck, Austin Morrow, who has been a part of the Best Show. Paycheck. Austin is one of the most talented guys. He's been on the show for so many years. Paycheck from Toronto. His partner, Julia, they are Mr. and Mrs. Paycheck, and for the longest time, they did the theme for the Best Show.
And that's some Canadian content. And I thought, okay, Tom loves SCTV.
Yes,
Tom loves Sloan. But this was so last minute, I didn't have a chance to pick up the new Sloan to bring. Hello, Chris Murphy. I didn't have a chance to pick up the Bob and Doug record, which you already have.
I have multiple copies of Bob and Doug.
But I thought, well, gimme do they have any Crystals? The band The Crystals,
Yes.
who influenced Lana Del Rey.
Absolutely.
And I couldn't find any.
Couldn't
so
find
there's
any.
no gift to bring to you today,
Nardwuar?
Tom Scharpling. I'm sorry.
Nardwuar, you are the gift that you brought. You are.
Boom.
Exactly. You are truly.
And you, Tom, have really helped me on WFMU. When
Back on WFMU, when you had your show that was being not syndicated, but was being rebroadcast on WFMU, and
live, we did the Fun Drive show
it.
together. And I think, did you really raise $1 million for WFMU?
Did I?
An incredible amount.
I would make
an incredible amount. Please note that.
Over the years,
that is incredible.
Well, here's my show would make $200,000 toward the end every year.
No, let's back up for a second. $200,000
in 6 hours.
$200,000
in 6 hours
for one show.
For one show.
That is incredible.
I know, and I was me. I know how incredible it was.
No, but I think the listeners may not realize that if they have a college radio station. If the listeners own a college radio station, they would realize $200,000 is not even like the goal for the fund drive. Like, and you do it in one show.
Yeah, one show. Yeah.
And that's from Canada as well.
Well, now here's something for you, Nardwuar, the Human Serviette.
I was going to say, actually, one thing. Sorry to interrupt you, Tom Scharpling.
Okay,
and you're still listening to Nardwuar the Human Serviette as a guest on Tom Scharpling's best show.
Well, first,
you hooked me up with Mark Maron. You hooked, remember that? Mark Maron.
I know. I want to just ask you a question. First of all, who are you?
I'm Nardwuar the Human Serviette from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and Lutu.
And why should we care?
Why shouldn't you care? In other words, if I can do it, anybody can. That's why you should care, because I am the poster child for if I can do it, you can too.
You know, my favorite thing about you, Nardwuar, is when somebody goes to you, oh my God, what are you at the CIA? What are you in the FBI? How are you finding this? How did you find this? And your answer to them is, you're blank. We have to do it.
And I appreciate Tom's distribution of my content, like the Dame Lillard interview. You actually reposted that. Thank you. 71 points the other night. Dame, hello, Dame.
Damian Lillard dropped 71 points. I refer to him as the Nardwuar of basketball, is what I think Damian Lillard is. He delivers, hits him from deep, goes in, out, can do anything. Now, I want to ask you this, Nardwuar, the Human Serviette. You have been at this. How long have you been at this?
Since October of 1987, I got my show on CITR Radio, but the first interview I ever did was September the 26th, 1985 in high school. And you can see it on YouTube, and you're still watching, I hope, Tom Scharpling's best show with me, Nardwuar the Human Serviette, and also Jones, who has accompanied me here at last minute to luxurious Best Show Studios. But I want to refer back to Dame Lillard. Thank you for telling people that that interview exists.
Oh, of course.
You were one of the few people that got it out there to the world. I appreciate that.
You do not realize the joy you've, and I'm going to say this for anybody who's saying, I'm not sure who Nardwuar is. Well, first of all, how are you listening to this show and you don't know what Nardwuar is? That's neither here nor there. Nardwuar does interviews, and they are such at the highest possible level. It's like he goes in and he figures everything out. He knows who you used to skateboard with when you were in 7th grade. He knows the name of the skate park. And he pulls a record. Remember this band? That's, oh my God, my uncle's in that band. He blows minds left and right. What was the first interview where you were dropping things on people and you saw that look in their eyes where you're just like, This is magic.
Well, believe it or not, it was September the 26th, 1985, the very first interview that I did, because I did an interview with Art Bergman, who was in the band Poisoned, but before he was in the band The Young Canadians, and they thanked my high school. So I had to ask him, why did you thank my high school? And he said, we thanked everybody else. But I love that. So that was like the first sort of like deep information. Like he thanked my high school.
Yeah.
So I always look at the notes.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, I must say, thank you for explaining me to other people. If people want to explain, like, who the hell Nardwuar is, because I have a hard time explaining who I am, just type Nardwuar into YouTube.
Yes.
But setting up the Mark Maron interview, you set up an interview, me and Mark Maron. How did you explain me to Mark Maron?
I said, Mark, he might scare you a little bit at first. You might get a little scared. I know you're scared of tam o' shanters. He's got a distinct fear of tam o' shanters. I said, you got to overcome the fear of tam o' shanters. So much like when you get a child, you catch smoking a cigarette behind the shed, you make them smoke the whole pack. I made him wear a tam o' shanter and he got comfortable. I said, this guy is going to go soup to nuts through the whole thing. You're going to love him. You might get thrown at first. He's coming on strong, coming on hot. He's starting at 10, and he goes, who knows where the gauge stops with this guy. But you're going to appreciate it in the end because he cares and he loves doing this.
And you were not afraid to give Mark's cell phone number to me, Nardwuar The Human Serviette. You shared a contact. Thank you so much.
After he told me to. I did not. I just want to say, for anybody, just understand this. I do not give anyone's cell phone number out unless they tell me, yeah, you can forward it along. I wasn't just hey, Mark, hey, Nardwuar, here's Mark's number. Anybody else you want? No.
But still, you helped broker the interview. You gave me that precious information. In the same way, Drake helped me hook up with Lil Wayne. He wasn't afraid to give me Lil Wayne's manager, Cortez Bryant's phone number. Like, I love that. Thank you. You are Drake. You are Sloan. You are the best show with Tom Scharpling on Twitch and other networks.
I just got to say, we're on Forever Dog is this network here. You're in the Forever Dog facility here in North Hollywood, beautiful North Hollywood. When you, I just want to tell you this from the bottom of my heart. If I'm ever having a hard time, if I'm ever down in the dumps, I will go to bed and I will just start watching videos of you, whether you're talking to Tyler, the Creator, or Pharrell, Snoop Dogg. The Snoop Dogg ones I've watched so many times. It is just pure, undistilled joy when I watch you make somebody who has done 10 million interviews, and you somehow are the exception. You're truly one in a million with these people, Nardwuar. You blow their minds, and it is magic for everybody to watch. Suddenly to see Tyler, the Creator, light up like a little kid because you surprised him with something. You mentioned Fossilman's down in Alhambra, the ice cream place. He didn't know that was coming.
I really appreciate you remembering those little details. I actually remember finding out information, but isn't that hard to get information? Most people could get that information, but they can't be bothered to. It isn't that hard to get that. Plus, all the people you've mentioned is over a bunch of years. Like,
of course.
Since 1987. So when you look at it as a whole, it's like, oh, we talked to so-and-so, but it might be like 10 years or 5 years in between Snoop Doggy Dogg interviews. So I really appreciate you saying that, but I have a lot of more work to do to get to the top of the rock pile. I am trying.
Yes, you're doing it. You're not trying, you're doing it. I believe Yoda said that.
But to get up, would I take a helicopter ride? Because you have another sort of like connection to me. Because of you, you turn me on to the Insane Clown Posse. Could you please explain? I tried to give them your record. I gave them your record.
Nardwuar, The Human Serviette, Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. They want nothing to do with me. They've made it explicitly clear. You are not alone in giving them my product and saying, hey, this guy made fun of you on the air for 40 minutes, but it was with love. As soon as they hear made fun, click, they shut they shut it off in their head.
And I think that summarizes what I do. Other people think that other way, and they spend the time to give gifts.
Yeah.
So it's not that hard. But I thought it was really cool to give the Worcester and Scharpling vinyl to.
Yes, amazing.
And you played the clip. You
Of
did
course,
play
yes,
the clip.
Yes. Now, what is the most expensive gift you've ever given somebody in the course of an interview? What was one that truly you're like, yikes, I'm breaking the bank a little bit on this one? What's the priciest item you've dropped on an interview subject?
Well, most recently, I think actually I gave Lizzo a fuzz pedal for her flute. I got Adam from Satellite Amps in San Diego to custom design a fuzz pedal. And I've given out a couple fuzz pedals, like given one to Lee Fields. I've given one to Steve Lacy, to Harry Styles. A whole bunch of different people have got. So I think the fuzz, like an actual fuzz pedal was made by Adam, and rest in peace, his good friend, O from San Diego, because O actually turned me on to Adam. So rest in peace to O.
Yes.
And O is actually going to help with the camera for Harry Styles. That's why I do stuff. Like I'm a one-man organization, a one-person organization.
Yes.
Like you turn me on to Insane Clown Posse. You turn me on to Mark Maron. There we have Jones taking me to record stores as well.
Yes.
It's like the Nardwuar team. Thank you, world.
Yes, and I will say, personally, I did not know O, but everybody in my life knew O, and it is a huge loss for so many people I know. So yes, of course, rest in peace.
Like he is like such a nice guy. Like the phone out of the blue is like, oh, I'll do your camera and I will help you get a custom guitar fuzz for Harry Styles.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It's incredible.
Yes.
And I've not talked to him actually in like 16 years. He also, brokered my second interview with Henry Rollins.
Well, you brought it up. I didn't bring it up. We're going to talk about, there's the highs of the highs when suddenly Pharrell says, I got to just tell you, this is a special interview. When he says something like that, that's the top. But then Blur, Lee Ronaldo cracking a record. How does a Nardwuar the Human Serviette deal with that level of confrontation and dare I say ugliness in the face of something so pure as this guy?
Well,
he buys a $100 record and Lee Ronaldo sees if he can snap it over his knee. And then I heard Vish took him to task for it. I don't buy. I love Lee Ronaldo to the end of the world. He said, well, Nardwuar was being funny, and I figured we'd be funny back. Strike 3! You're out! Noise man.
I don't actually think in those terms. I just think when that's happening, what is the next question to move on to?
Like,
so I go along with my list. And actually, I would love to go freeform and have no list, but a lot of time, as you will know, there, Tom, I don't want to take a lot of time. You don't have a lot of time to interview somebody.
No.
Like a lot of time, behind that door is Lady Gaga. You have 10 minutes. So like you run in, talk to Lady Gaga, and get the hell out of the room.
Oh, yeah, because
like,
you know, the clock
you don't
is
have
ticking.
like 2 hours to do a podcast. Like, Lady Gaga. So a lot of people might like, it was so quick. You don't have time.
No, it's you got to be ramped 100% right out of the box. You're fired out. So you go and you get this thing, and then, because I'll say this though, you're not the person you were. You are now Nardwuar, but at one point you were Nardwuar. You didn't have the clout. You didn't have the thing. So you bring that when they crack that record, you go, hey man, that was $100 record. Like you seem a little stung by it.
I was,
and that's okay.
At that moment, I was. I eventually did find a couple years later at the Bellingham Valley Village another copy of the record. It was the Young Men who did a version of Charlie Brown, but changed it to Charlie Browning about a University of Western Washington cheerleading team, football, etc. And the reason I gave it to them is I heard a rumor from Grant Lawrence of the Schmundlers that Sonic Youth recorded at Conrad Uno in Washington studio, but I guess they didn't.
Well,
so I
who
tried
else
to
recorded there was
the
the
Young Fresh Fellows
Fastbacks
and the Young Fresh Fellows.
The Young Fresh
Shout
Fellow.
out to Kim Warnick and Scott McCoy and
Yes.
Kurt Block
That's
and Jim as well.
Yes, Jim, of course.
But I did find a record a couple years
you did
later
find- okay.
at the Bellingham
Okay,
Valley
good.
Village,
Okay.
and yeah.
I will say,
And the camera was rolling. It caught everything.
It got everything.
So as long as the camera is rolling, I'm happy, and I'll move on to the next question.
then it's the price of doing business.
I have done interviews. Like, people were like, why are you wearing, like, tartan pants and tartan shoes and a tartan hat? I used to wear a skull cap, and people can see that in my interview with Kurt Cobain. But when I did an interview with Sebastian Bach, a fellow Canadian, he didn't like the interview was going. He chucked the skull cap, the toque, off my head and destroyed the tape of the interview. And that's the reason that I wear a tartan hat, because he stole my toque. So
Yes.
I got a tartan hat
Yes.
and pants and
Sure.
shoes to match it. So in other words, that was a reason that as long as the camera is rolling and I move on to the next question, everything is okay.
Absolutely. And the thing is, first of all, with Sebastian Bach, he is somebody who he is
Jesus Christ Superstar star.
he is from
Canada.
and he
Zach
moved
Barak.
but where he moved to New Jersey. You gave him to me in the largest possible sense. I am from New Jersey. Mere towns away was a town, Sayreville, New Jersey, Nardwuar The Human Serviette from British Columbia, Canada. Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. You can still say from British Columbia, Canada. Look, I might as well put your street address in before I say from, 821 Main Street from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. It all tracks. He moved to this town, Sayreville, a small town. It's the theater. It had a movie theater. What movie did I see at that movie theater? Class of '84 at a midnight show on my birth. I stayed at the movies one day for my birthday. I saw Road Warrior when I was 13. Then I saw The Sting 2, Mac Davis and Jackie Gleason, of course. Then I ended seeing Class of '84. Greatest night of my life. But that small town, 2 bands came from that small town, Nardwuar. Skid Row, Bon Jovi.
So in other words, Sebastian Bach stole my toque, and as a result had to move to New Jersey and infect
Something
you
like
with
that.
sort of Sebastian Bach type problems.
More or less. And I also, you're mentioning, you go, oh, you have Austin, did the theme. There's a new theme on the Best Show. And written, recorded, and performed by another fellow Canadian, one near and dear to my heart, the
Mike
great
Roach. Let's give a shout out to
we'll
Mike
give a
Roach.
shout out to Mike Roach.
Roach. He is a devoted listener.
Well,
of
Mike
Scharpling
Roach,
List.
I say
shout out to Mike
shout
Roach.
out to Mike Roach. But I want to say Nick Thorburn. You know Nick Thorburn?
From Islands.
From Islands, Unicorns, Island. He wrote the new theme. Listen to this. We'll just play a second of it.
Best show. Best show. Best show. Keep on laughing with the radio on Tuesday night. On Tuesday night. When all the other days have got you down, you'll feel alright. You'll feel alright.
The great Nick Thorburn did this.
Amazing. And Nick, believe it or not, put on a gig with my band, The Evaporators.
Yes.
In, I think it was the early 2000s in Campbell River, British Columbia, Canada.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
He is amazing. Anything he does is amazing, and anything you do is amazing. So I know we don't like to focus on the negative. I want to get back to the positive, but I do just need to see this thread through a little bit of what was the one where you were truly sweating it out? Was it the Blur one where these cretins had you trapped in a hotel room and the one grabs your he starts shoving you or something like that? Is that the part where you're like, this is hard, why am I doing this?
Well, as I mentioned, the Sebastian Bach story, which happened in 1994,
Yes.
and the Blur happened in 2000 and oh my God, 3. Oh my God.
Look at that.
Like, oh my, I was going to say 13, but 2003.
No, we got
and the Blur thing
Yeah.
had cameras rolling.
Mhm.
Remember, Sebastian Bach
Yeah.
didn't. He destroyed the camera.
Yeah.
So as long as the camera's rolling, I was happy.
Sure.
So I had no problem with that at all.
Yeah.
Because the camera's rolling.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. You're a stronger person than I am. I would still be mumbling about the drummer from Blur 20 years later. I'm still grousing about Nick DiPaolo. I went to a comedy show. He made fun of my jacket. Sitting in the audience. Still mad about it. I got to learn how to shake this stuff, Nardwuar.
Dave
How
actually,
do you shake it, Nardwuar?
well, Dave also gave an apology, and he blamed it all on drugs. So it was very nice of him to give him
Sure.
an apology 8 years after it happened.
Okay,
I
okay.
did not get an apology the day after, even though he said I got an apology.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't, but it didn't bother me. I just carried on with life. And then 8 years later, he didn't have to, but he gave an apology.
Well, that's
so
sweet.
thank you very much.
Yes.
I really appreciate
Yeah.
that. That's amazing. One person did comment kind of like, well, how can Dave make everything well? Well, he's done everything well, but you could possibly get my band, the Evaporators, to open up at Wembley Stadium for the Blur reunion show.
That would
be amazing.
Right? It would smooth some things over a little bit. It would go down a little easier.
But he doesn't have to do it because he's given an apology. Life goes on. And we are still listening to The Best Show with Tom Scharpling.
And I just want to say, this person in the chat, that's what you get for going to see Nick DiPaolo. It was a thing where you didn't know who was on the bill. Get off my back with that. What's the longest you've ever chased someone down? Oh, I got you in my sights. I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. You're working the angles. You talk to the manager. You talk to the friends. You're still not making the connection. What's the white whale for you that you finally got?
You know, there are kind of some ongoing things that I'm trying to get, like Neil Young. I've been trying all my life to get an interview with. So there are too many to mention that I've not finally got. But I knew for running, I interviewed the band Trail of Dead, and I remember running on the block to finish, get them to go do.
Yeah.
Do.
And
so I remember that.
Yes.
But for getting, there's always somebody.
Like Jay-Z, how long did it take for you to finally sit down with Jay-Z?
Well, I was very lucky because Pharrell Williams
that's right, yes.
recommended me to Jay-Z.
So you got fast-tracked on that one.
I was fast-tracked. He gave Jay-Z a heads up, and also he gave me some special contacts. Just like you, Mark.
Sure.
Just like you gave me Mark Maron.
Yes.
I almost called you Mark Maron.
Well, that's fine. That was I would take
Has
that.
anybody else called you Mark Maron before?
You would have been the first. Nobody still has. You came close. You almost were the first.
I almost did.
How you doing over there, Jones? You hanging in there?
Jones, actually, I wanted to mention.
What's it like to drive around with this guy in a car all day?
It's like this.
It's like this.
I wish I had the tape recorder. Just quickly, Jones, mention about the Black Flag, because I said to Jones, did you ever see Black Flag?
I went to many, many Black Flag shows between 1980 and 81, and I never saw them once. They were always broken up by the police.
They were always getting shut down.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So there are photographs of me standing in line in punk.
Can we show the photo? We have the photo. Let's show the photo.
I do.
This is
standing
video.
in line waiting to see them. I don't know that this is going to translate.
We can have somebody put it on the screen if you want, Jones.
This is Jones in a trench coat seeing Black Flag and not seeing Black Flag.
Well, let's do it.
Just flash it up.
Look, you can why don't you hold it up in front of that camera? If you bend it and hold it in front of it, let's see if that works.
And I don't know if,
closer.
can you
Let's
see
see.
Jones there? Jones is where, can you point at what's happening, Jones?
Maybe turn it down a slight, pull it
You
down
pull
a
it back
tiny
a
bit.
little bit. There we go. Look at
Okay,
that.
that's good.
There's Jones. And what is that, 81?
So Jones's back is there.
Okay.
Oh, just keep it straight.
There you go.
1980. Amazing.
And go down for a second, and we can see right.
Want to tap that screen again? So
Yeah,
it
tap
comes
this.
back?
All right, Jones. That's good. We saw it. That was great.
Yeah, we did.
Now,
But that is some documentation
Sure.
that I bought an official Black Flag trier to the best
Sure.
show.
Well, I
because
appreciate it.
only the best for the best show.
what was Jones? You didn't get to see. What was the band from that era that doesn't get enough respect for how great they actually were in real time?
That's a really good story. I'm sorry, really good question. Doesn't get enough respect. Well, my band, Disability, didn't give enough respect.
Okay.
That's kind of a joke. And let's see, who didn't get respect? Gosh, who has been forgotten? I think one of the best bands that I saw, not from LA, but Gang of Four was one of those bands. I'm sure that everybody knows who they are.
Sure,
But
yeah.
that's one of those bands that really needs a big reunion or big
Okay.
revival.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see a lot of really great bands back then in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Many too many to like remember and name. I can remember seeing one-off bands like Ella and the Blacks. The Marina Swingers. Does anybody remember that band? No. I'm afraid I'm drawing a blank at this point.
It's pretty amazing. Like Jones's first gig was one of the first gigs was 999 and Berlin.
Yeah, Berlin was opening up for them, and they were
Wow.
fresh
Okay.
off the. I don't know. They'd had one single out, I think, at that point.
So it's amazing. Jones escorting me, Nardwuar The Human Serviette, with Senior Moore around LA, telling me all these stories. I wish I had a tape recorder, so I just brought Jones down to the best show.
Sure.
Thank you for helping document
Amazing.
this, Dom.
No,
I
this is
appreciate
great.
it.
Let's not forget Senor Moore. He's on the radio on KXLU
Right now.
Not now. He'll be on at 10 o'clock.
Doing a Molotov cocktail hour.
There's a guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Nardwuar. Outside of Jay-Z, you got fast tracked. How hard was it to get, for example, like, who was the first breakthrough where you were dealing with a certain level of artist? Because was it Snoop Dogg? Was it Pharrell? Who was the first to where it's like, no, this guy is interviewing heavy hitters, not just indie people who they're heavy to me, but culturally selling millions of records.
Well, believe it or not, I think the breakthrough kind of was Pharrell recommending me to Jay-Z. And then people like Tyler, the Creator, saw me talking to these people and wanted interviews with me. I shouldn't say wanted interviews with me, knew who I was.
Yeah.
And I think my interview in 2011 with Tyler, the Creator, when he was in Odd Future, that kind of exposed me to a different group of people. So that kind of
a
was
whole
the
new
takeoff. So that was
generation
the
of-
new takeoff.
Yes.
But I had been working since 1987 to 2011.
But you, at that point, everybody was like, this guy's legit. He brings it. He's worth talking to.
For some people, I think the artists are totally into it, but the management still needs convincing. And I
Yes.
still work hard to convince people. It's like, oh, we'd rather Rolling Stone. We'd rather do Wired, not you. Sorry, you're
Sure.
cool and all.
Sure.
But it's sort of like the management still needs convincing. So I'm still trying. I still have not been accepted by the management. But that's life.
That's life.
It's an occupational hazard.
Yeah.
I'm doing this because
Yeah.
I want to. If I
Yes.
don't want to do it, well, I could be something else, like an engineer.
Look, you could be selling aluminum siding. You'd have an easier time of it. But it's not what you want to be
Probably
doing.
a harder time. I'm lucky. It's like rock and roll. It's fun. It's laughing.
Absolutely.
Like, let's put it where it is. It's like, some stuff may happen, but it is a joke. It's for
It's the
fun.
best. It's the best.
It's fun.
Yes. Some of the reactions that are my favorite, Questlove was a truly special
Oh,
he
he is he's such a
Because
hip hop historian, isn't
he is such a student of all music. He's such a font of knowledge. And, but he was also a fan of yours, and he says, I've been waiting for this moment. You're not gonna do it to me. And within 15 minutes, he's almost crying because you pulled out a record and he was just like, you got me. I was prepared to not let you in, but you broke in with magic.
But it
Nardwuar
isn't really magic because the record I got at like Neptune Records in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
Yeah.
Also with people like Questlove, it's great to talk to them because you can just put the mic out and they will just go. They will just talk.
Absolutely.
Like, and the thing is, oh, tell me about this record, and they will talk about the record or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason I bring stuff to interviews is to get people to talk. But you don't have to bring anything for Questlove. He'll just talk and tell you stuff and give some information out. But it is sort of like a team effort when I do interviews. Like, for instance, I also show records that I got, like Beat Street records as well.
Yes.
Avi at Beat Street lets me borrow records.
And now
so
you take Beat Street, you bring them up now. You bring Tyler, the Creator, up to Beat Street. Now you're looking at all the action figures.
Thank you for remembering that. That is incredible. Tom, that is amazing. How did you know that, Tom? Thank you so much for watching my interviews. I appreciate that. Yes, we brought Tyler, the Creator, to Beat Street Records.
Yeah.
And you can see that interview, 2021, Nardwuar. Oh, was it 2020? It's 2022. I get confused. It's 2022. The interview was done. But thank you. Yes, it was done at Beat Street. Bring it all home. And I do a lot of interviews at Neptune Records as well.
Yeah.
So it kind of is a group, that puts together the Nardwuar team.
Now, what is this crazy Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada snack shop that you've been taking people to? What is that place?
I should have brought you Lucky's Bodega in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. They have amazing chocolates, etc. I did an interview with Baby No Money there, the rapper Baby No Money. And behind him, there are some hot dogs. And people are like, why is he interviewing him with hot dogs on them? Should the hot dogs be in the refrigerator? But they ain't. They are candy. It's amazing. Lucky's Bodega. And I should have brought it for you, Tom. I have some, but I didn't bring any for you.
Oh, that's fine.
But yeah, great assortment of candies. Lucky's Bodega in Vancouver, British Columbia. So yeah, there's all these things coming together that help make an interview. Yeah. And that's why when you do an interview, you like to have all these elements.
Yeah. I want to, and I say this like Ringo Starr with peace and love. Peace and love.
I have tried to interview him as well. And I've had no luck, but I did tell his agent that he should play South by Southwest. No joke. I did say that.
Yeah. I'm scared if you ever interview Neil Young. It scares me to think Neil Young, Neil Young's moving like this. Right, you know what I mean? Like and then suddenly who comes in? Zzz, his head's going to explode. When you start coming in, you just pull a Buffalo Springfield record out. What's he going to do? You're going to be like, hey, here's the Rockets. Remember the Rockets?
Well, actually, I have something special for Neil Young. When Neil Young went to Los Angeles, where you are right now. Yes, I'm Nardwuar The Human Serviette. That's Tom Scharpling from The Best Show. My friend Jones, we're live here on The Best Show. When Neil went to Los Angeles and met Stephen Stills, he was like in a hearse.
Drove around the hearse looking for the guys who he met
at Fort William.
He met and they said, hey, if you ever make it to L.A., look us up. He comes down in his hearse with his Ontario plates because he was from Toronto, Ontario. Winnipeg. But at that point, he was living on Yonge Street, I believe, in Toronto.
And he was in a band with Rick James.
Yes. The Mina Birds. He drives down, can't find Stills, Richie Fury, whichever member of Buffalo Springfield, he couldn't find him. He's driving around town. He starts leaving town. He spots him on his way out of town. He's ready to go back. He said, like, well, I'm going back to Canada. Right? You know that line in Journey Through the Past? That's what he was literally about to do. He saw them. Imagine if he didn't see them. What would that have meant to music history?
Now, you talk about the interview that I would have with Neil Young.
Yeah.
What was in the back of Neil Young's hearse when he saw Stephen Stills?
Do you know?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. What was in the back of his hearse?
Bev Davies' sleeping bag. A photographer from Vancouver was going to come with Neil Young to California. Neil wouldn't let Bev go, but took Bev's sleeping bag.
Okay.
And Bev's sleeping bag went for the journey. So the first question for Neil Young would be, where is Bev's sleeping bag? And Bev is an incredible photographer from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. So I'm all ready for Neil Young. In fact, maybe we'll bring a sleeping bag and like, does this bring back any memories?
Don't take this the wrong way, Nardwuar. I think now I'm ready to interview Neil Young too. I'm just going to do the sleeping bag thing also.
Baboom, I can arrange for you to meet up with Bev Davies, and we'll fly in Bev Davies for your interview.
Now, you also know Neil Young's father was
Scott Young.
Scott Young, who wrote for
the Globe and Mail. Your dad wrote sports for the Globe and Mail. Pierre Burton had you on his knee. The Squires! The Squires! My band, The Evaporators, which you can check on Spotify, has a song called Winnipeg 64. Winnipeg 64, all about Neil Young's first band, The Squires.
Yes. But just go light. Let him warm up. If you could, don't come in 110 miles an hour if you do get Neil Young. Give him a pause. Let him, because he'll just go like, what's going on here with this guy? I don't know. And you'll be out. They'll throw you out at the barn faster than you can say "ba-boom."
We'd give him a possible record, some sort of gift to lighten the mood. Yes, we're not. Thank you for the advice, Tom.
I just don't want you to come in too. Just don't come in too hot.
Well, I appreciate the advice, and actually, the minute you stop learning is the minute you should quit.
Absolutely,
and there's always something to learn. And thank you for the tips. And I will take a note of that. I'll be very careful.
So Neil Young is one of the big gets for you. You're trying to dream for you. Who else is on that list? Maybe I can help.
Barack Obama? Do you have any contacts there? Actually, believe it or not,
Talk to your friend Mark Maron.
I hit up Questlove because Questlove DJ'd for
Mm-hmm.
Barack Obama later on. And I talked to Barack Obama's people, and they knew who I was, but they said maybe not now. But still, I came very close. So thank you, Questlove.
Sure.
So Neil Young, Barack Obama is on the list there too. And also probably Paul McCartney.
That I would love to see Nardwuar the Human Serviette from
and
Vancouver,
Little
British
Richard
Columbia,
would have
Canada.
been amazing too.
Sure.
But unfortunately, he passed away.
And this is what I want to say. If we ever develop time-traveling technology, do we kill Hitler? Maybe we kill Hitler first. Then, second thing we do, we start sending you all through time. Right? We send you in a, so you're with the Pharaoh all of a sudden. You're coming in, you're pulling out some myrrh.
Well, maybe
you blow the Pharaoh's mind.
Well, I appreciate that. There's a lot of pressure. Maybe I could help coordinate for you to send a person through time. I don't think I could last in a spaceship. I get really dizzy.
No, but it would go
also,
like this.
It's
Suddenly
not
you go,
that hard.
and now you're back, and suddenly you're somewhere in the past. What if it's just Nardwuar, and it's just except we do, it's like an infinity symbol. It's like we just Nardwuar, because you're going forward, you're going back, you're going every which way. Suddenly Nardwuar is at Woodstock. Suddenly Nardwuar is at Altamont. Suddenly Nardwuar is meeting Lincoln. You'd ask Lincoln about it. You'd be pulling things out of your sack.
I think, Tom, I love that. I learned actually.
I was always going to try to get you.
I learned that
word. At some point, I'm going to get you this full-on laugh.
I learned the word taint. I never heard the word taint before from Josh from Queens of the Stone Age.
Welcome to America.
In one of my interviews, I learned that. But I think I'm really flattered by you saying that. But I think anybody can do what I do. Just spend a bit of time. Like, who's stupid enough to research Snoop Doggy Dogg for like a week? But me, most people can't be bothered. So I appreciate the kind words you're saying, but anybody could do what you're proposing. I only spend time on stuff. So get somebody that can really withstand being dizzy, can do research, can run really good. You know, it was really easy to do. I'm there to inspire people. Like you said, like, why should people care about me, Nardwuar The Human Serviette? Well, because if I can do it, anybody can, really.
That is something that a friend of ours says. Damien from Effed Up says that a lot, where he says there's nothing special about me except that I'm doing it. That's the only difference between me and you can do it too.
And he does an amazing podcast, like listening to his
Absolutely.
podcast, all the great little tidbits of punk that are out there, turned out
a punk. You've been on Turned Out a Punk?
And also...
Have you been a guest?
No, I have not.
Oh, my goodness. How have you not been a guest? He should be tried for treason. That's a Canadian crime he's committing.
No, it will happen. I will
Who's
be
the worst Canadian of all time?
I will be on.
Who's the worst Canadian of all time? Gavin McGuinness. Is he the worst Canadian of all? Because I say this. A bad Canadian is the worst person on the planet because you've had every chance to be good and you've chosen evil. You've chosen to go against the stream. You're bad in America. That's a coin flip down here. Canada, you're saying, I choose to be evil. Jordan Peterson, Gavin McGuinness, Don Cherry. Who tops your list of evil Canadians?
Well, it's kind of like, I like to not think like about the evil Canadians, and I don't like to think about the, evil Americans. Sure. I like to think about love.
Sure,
and I think it's really important to stress the love.
Enough.
The rehabilitation, I think, is very important.
But you have to admit, there's a passive-aggressive quality to some Canadians. I spent 4 months in Toronto, Ontario, working on a show called What We Do in the Shadows. Thank you, big fan. We shot up there. I was friends with one of the cast. I still am friends with Matt Berry. We were obsessed with Canadian snack cakes. Mae West's, Joe Louis. So I say, I'm going to go get some Mae West's and Joe Louis, bring them tomorrow to the set. I go to a 24-hour grocery store, and they put me up in the worst neighborhood, Nardwuar The Human Serviette from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I was sitting across from the frickin' dome where the Raptors play. That's a terrible neighborhood. Who would be in that neighborhood? The pizza was bad. It was all bad. And Toronto pizza's awful. You know that. Your silence speaks volumes.
But I would like to say you're complaining about a job where you made money.
Oh, I'm not complaining about the job. I'm saying I went to the grocery store and I was looking for an employee, looking around. Where's somebody who can help me find these snack cakes?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Andrew WK. Shout out to Andrew WK.
Sure, yes.
In Canada, he loves the deep and delicious snack cakes.
Yeah.
Because they don't have as many of them in the States.
I was looking for those.
After each cake, he'd eat deep and delicious.
Well, Nardwuar, I look for an employee of the store to ask, where can I find the snack cakes? I can't, neither hide nor hair in the store. Finally, I find one employee putting frozen fish into the case. And I say to this kindly person, I say, can you tell me where I could find the snack cakes in the store? And he goes like this, meaning there's frozen fish everywhere. He goes, not my department, and turns his back to me. And first of all, I was like, yeah, I didn't think I was going to find snack cakes next to frozen salmon. First of all, I'm looking for an employee. Just help me find the snack cakes, guy. That's the passive aggressive. It runs under the surface. There's an anger there with Canadians. I don't want to acknowledge it. You don't want to acknowledge it, but it is there. That's how you get a punk band like Brutal Knights, Violent, Nick Flanagan, the rage pouring from that young boy's head. He channels it into evil hardcore. Does hardcore come from Vancouver? Is Vancouver the birthplace of hardcore?
Hardcore 81, DOA, with photos by Bev Davies, throwing all the way back to Neil Young. Check out the back of Hardcore 81. Photos by Bob Mercer and Bev Davies. Yes, DOA, Hardcore 81.
Sure.
Did DOA term Hardcore 81? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
And you can check that answer in my interview with Ian Mackay. And
Sure.
you're still watching and listening, I hope, to the best
Yeah,
show.
so we're
Yes,
gonna-
it's me, Nardwuar The Human Serviette,
Yes.
Tom Scharpling, my friend Jones, who has been driving me around Los Angeles, pointing out different locations and punk rock lore, etc. And, of course, as I mentioned before, Tom Scharpling.
Now, what
Back
blew
to
your
you,
mind? What
Tom.
blew your mind today? Did you see the Comedy Store, for example? Did you pass the Comedy Store on Sunset Boulevard? And do you know what the Comedy Store used to be? Nardwuar?
Ciro's. It used to be
It was
Ciro's.
Ciro's. And do you know who got their big break at Ciro's?
Mel Brooks.
Not Mel Brooks. It was Sonny and Cher and the
Richard
Birds.
Pryor.
And the Birds. That's where, before it was a comedy venue, it was a club. And that's where the Birds were the house band there. And so was Sonny and Cher. How about the what else have you seen? The Whiskey? Have you been to the Whiskey? Do you know who made their bones at the Whiskey? The
Love
did. And who else?
And Love got the door signed.
They got the door signed to Elektra. The Seeds.
Shout out to Sky Saxon, who
Yes.
died the same day as
I don't know.
Michael Jackson.
Michael
Rest in
Ja-
peace.
yes, that was
and Farrah Fawcett.
What a day. They go in threes, they say. They go in threes. Nardwuar, it breaks my heart to say this. The show has to end.
The show has to go on. The show will go on.
To leave this bubble, Nardwuar. If I could make a deal, if I could take the hourglass and smash it, not unlike your own new pornographers, the hourglass spills its sand, wanting to sing me Spanish techno.
Well, I appreciate.
Who else is from Vancouver? Dan Behar, the great Dan Behar, Destroyer. The Bob Dylan of Canada, some would say.
And Yvonne DiCarlo from
The Munsters. Yes. And Dan Behar, that will be his crowning achievement to know that he was side by side with Yvonne DiCarlo, who appeared in movies with
Also, believe it or not,
Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley. But I want to say, Tom, please,
Yes,
let me
of
say
course,
this.
of course.
Thank you at last minute for inviting me in
Yes.
to the best show. I really appreciate, because it was like a last minute
Oh, it was last
invitation,
minute.
wasn't it?
I didn't know you were trying. I saw people on social media saying, Nardwuar's in town. He's in Los Angeles. I wonder if he's going to be on the best show. And I said to myself, I wonder as well. Let me ask him. And lo and behold, you're here. I'm here. This was a true highlight.
And I appreciate the interest, because that inspires me to want to do more interviews. So
Oh,
thank
you're
you,
a
Tom.
sweetheart.
Thank you for inviting me in here
Of
and
course.
saying the kind words. I really appreciate that, because that, as I said, inspires me to go out there and do more that people care. And I
Yes.
know you're there in the background watching the Tyler interview or the Damian Lillard interview, helping with distro. Like, I know, and that makes me, even more nervous. And then the interviews, hopefully you relax a bit and open up, and the interviews work. You're still watching, I hope. Back to Tom, the best show.
You are, and I just want to say, Nardwuar, the Human Serviette from Vancouver. First of all, Jones, I want to thank you for coming. It was a
Jones brought
It was
me.
amazing to
Jones
meet
brought
you.
me. Punk
Yes.
rock history.
Yes.
Punk rock history.
I could only imagine what happened if you walked into Enterprise Rent-A-Car and they see you and they're just kind of like, we're out of cars. Is what they would probably say. We have no, meanwhile, behind them, there are 80 cars. Sir, we have no more cars.
What has
today.
happened? Jones has helped with a few photos today, right?
Oh yeah, everywhere we've gone, lots of people have gotten photos. So
I cannot imagine
But I mean, well,
that
lots,
car ride. That
well,
car ride, Jones.
Not that many photos, but what I meant is
Jones.
Jones has been nice to drive me to the best show, as well as taking photo. Like, could you hold the camera while I pose?
Sure.
over and
Yes.
over. Can we do a photo with you,
Oh, I wish we could.
like right now?
Nardwuar,
Like-
I just want Nardwuar. There's one thing I want you to. This is my show. I want to say to you, thank you for coming on the best show. And wait, keep on rocking in the free world and
do.
do That's it. We're done.